Welcome to Tree to Table. I am your host, Sarah Gollibart Gorman. Today we're at BMC Bakes, Harrisonburg's gluten-free bakery, and we have a baking challenge ahead of us, macarons. I know, it's a little bit intimidating, but the thing is, I was nervous the first time I made macarons, and if I can do it, you can do it. Our filling is going to be a delicious cherry buttercream made with Shenandoah Valley Orchard's sweet red cherries. Let's get started. So our first step is going to be to add 300 grams of egg whites into this stand mixer. It's really crucial for everything to be dry as a bone, because with the egg whites, we're making a meringue. Any water can disturb that meringue and the end product will be flat or cracked or messed up, so no water is crucial. And now, about 1/8 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar. It's gonna come out to 3 shakes about. Awesome. Now we're gonna whip these on high for about 2 minutes. We're looking for a bundt cake-like shape to form around the whisk and for the peaks of the egg whites to be distinct and separating from the edge of the bowl. So now that our egg whites are where we need them to be, we're gonna add in 270 grams of sugar while the mixer is still going. We're gonna count to about 3 between each addition and add the sugar in about 5 increments. 1, 2, 3. Great. We're gonna let this go for about 2 minutes. We don't wanna overmix the meringue because that's gonna impact our macarons in the end as well. So we're looking for a marshmallowy-like texture and not too stiff. So the peak should be stiff, but still slightly floppy. One way to test if the meringue is done is to remove the whisk here and lift it out from the bowl. Perfect. So if you have this lovely kind of like Hershey Kiss top, you know that your meringue is ready. Before we add the almond flour and powdered sugar mixture, we have to add our food coloring. It's crucial to use a gel food coloring for macarons because a water-based coloring is gonna mess up your meringue. So let's add a few drops of this pink food coloring. All right, our next addition is gonna be our almond flour and powdered sugar. We have 420 grams of almond flour and 390 grams of powdered sugar. We're gonna whisk this until there are no lumps remaining. So now that our almond flour and powdered sugar mixture is fully blended, we're gonna add this to the meringue. So we're gonna lightly mix this with the mixer and then finish it by hand. Perfect. So first, try to get as much batter off the whisk as possible by just smack it against the side of the bowl. So our mixture is only partially mixed, so we have to finish blending it. And this process is called macaronage. See, macarons are so special that they have a noun and a verb. Macaronage means to fold, and so what I'm doing is I'm using my spatula to scrape along the outside of the bowl and then press down in the center. Some bakers will do this entire process by hand, and their baker biceps are bulging. While you're macaronaging, you are deflating the batter a bit, and that's okay. You want a lava-like texture, so when we go to pipe these out onto our baking sheet, it flows out nice and smooth. And occasionally just kind of scrape the sides a bit and make sure you have all of the almond flour fully integrated. So what we're eventually looking for is when we lift the spatula, we want the batter to flow off in a ribbon. So we're not quite there yet. That's a gorgeous batter. Look at that ribbon. We're ready. In order to pipe out the macarons, we have to use this piping bag. So I have a piping tip in the bottom, plastic bag on the top. I'm gonna sit it right down here in this container and just open it up so I can just put the batter right in there. All right, this is going pretty well. Sometimes this process is graceful. I haven't put all the batter into the piping bag, it won't all fit. So I will pipe out some onto the baking sheet and then come back and add the rest of the batter. We're gonna pipe the macarons onto this silicone baking sheet. You can also use parchment paper. It's just very easy to work with. And I like how it has these circles on here that make it easier to decide where to place each macaron. So we wanna space them out about 3 inches apart on the baking sheet. So you can see how as they sit and kind of spread out, that they really get nice and smooth. After you've piped all your macarons out onto your baking sheet, you want to slam it down on the counter 5 times. So why are we banging the macarons on the counter? This is helping any air bubbles escape, so when they bake, they're nice and smooth and there are no bubbles escaping during that process. So we can't put these in the oven right away. We have to let them sit for about an hour to develop a skin over top of each cookie. We're gonna set these aside and begin our buttercream. Now it's time to make our cherry buttercream icing. So for this, you can either use last season's cherries that you froze last year, or you can use this season's fresh cherries. My favorite way to pit cherries is to just crush them with a knife. Makes it so much easier than trying to use some sort of gadget or device. Look at that, so easy. So what you do is you just take your cherry, pull off the stem, lay it down on your cutting board, use the broad side of your knife, just press it with the heel of your hand. Then you can easily break it apart and take out the cherry pit. So we're gonna do that until we have 2 cups of cherries. So now that we have all of our pitted cherries, we're gonna put 2 cups of them into a food processor and blitz them until we have a fine puree. We want to really incorporate all of the cherry skin. So now we have our cherry puree. We're gonna add this to like a medium-sized saucepan and reduce it for about 15 minutes. Let's take this to the stovetop. So now that we have our pureed cherries on the stovetop, we're gonna reduce these into a thick, jammy mixture. At the end, we'll have about 4 to 5 tablespoons of cherry reduction that we'll add to our buttercream. And so we want to closely watch this and stir this frequently over the next 15 minutes until we have our full cherry reduction. To begin our buttercream, we're going to add 2 sticks of butter to the stand mixer with the paddle attachment. We're going to add half of the powdered sugar. We have 3 cups here, so we're going to add about 1.5 cups. And we're going to blend this on high for about 5 minutes. Okay, our butter and sugar is looking so nice and fluffy. This would not have happened if I used cold sticks of butter. That's why our softened butter is so crucial for the beginning of this buttercream process. So now that we have our butter and sugar all nice and fluffed, let's add our other ingredients. So we have our cherry reduction that was simmering on the stove. We're gonna add half of this mixture into the buttercream. And we're gonna mix it until it's just blended. And now we're gonna add the rest of our powdered sugar. Again, this is about the 1.5 cups that was left over from the first edition. So we're now going to incorporate the other half of the powdered sugar, and we'll want to scrape down the bowl with our spatula every once in a while. And when you're whipping it the second time, you do not want to whip it too high because your sugar, you're going to have like a snowstorm of sugar flying around. So for this part, we're whipping around half speed. Now that we're almost fully blended, it's time to add our 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And also we have to add the other half of our cherry reduction as well. So let's scoop that out of our saucepan here and add that to our buttercream. So I'm gonna mix this until I have a nice, creamy and consistent mixture. And if it gets too thick, I can add some heavy cream to kind of thin it out a little bit. And our buttercream is complete. And just look at that color, y'all. That is delicious cherry goodness right there. Just like how we piped out our macarons, we're gonna use another piping bag to pipe out our cream in between each cookie. For this, I like to get a big clump, take it deep into the bag, and kind of scrape it out while holding the side of the bag. Awesome. Let's fill our macarons. Now that our macarons are cooled, we wanna match each cookie up with a like-sized partner. Once each cookie has a partner, we're going to pipe our cherry buttercream into the center. So we want to give a generous squeeze to the center, and then as we press it out, it's going to sandwich out of the cookie like so. Lovely. Let's add another. The cherry buttercream just looks so delicious. And it kind of squeezes out the sides like that. Let's give it a try. The cherryness, this is so, so good. This would make such an impressive dessert. You can also make these for birthdays, baby showers, any sort of celebration where something a little bit elegant is required. Stay tuned for what we're cooking up next at Shenandoah Valley Orchards.